Greetings and welcome to the latest edition of the Jacksonville Buzz. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton. Joining me in the studio today is Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and we're going to talk about how to navigate with clarity. Good morning. It's so good to see you again.
So great to see you. Great to be here.
So what we're actually talking about, and when you say navigate with clarity, that's really your mantra at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so we're going to talk about investing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes, that's what we want to talk about.
Because you've gone through a number of different changes in your life.
Yes.
So tell me about your journey.
It's been quite a journey, I will say. So as we know, I've been on this show before, and I've been here as an ear, nose, and throat physician. I have done med spa segments as well, skincare segments, and it's funny how we just keep evolving. And I've always been this person with many interests, and I think what I do in my life somehow always reflects where I am in my life. So what that means is when I was an ear, nose, and throat physician, it was really the perfect thing for me at the time. I was in a stationary place. I was in an office. I was raising my children. All that seemed to work out perfectly to give me the steadiness that life needed at that point.
Sure.
Then as my children got older, I started getting more into the aesthetics. And I mean, I'd been doing it the whole time, but I became more heavily involved in that with the skincare line, then opened up another med spa and whatnot. And then there was this desire to have even more freedom, not to be stuck in some place. And that was when I really changed it up, moved down to South Florida, and then said, you know what, I've always wanted to professionally speak, and I'm turning 53 next week. And I thought, well, this is really the time. And I had a message that I want to share with people because as I gained more clarity, I wanted to be able to help other people navigate their lives with more clarity.
So there's two aspects of this that I find both interesting and a little scary. Firstly is that by reinventing yourself, does that mean that you're not happy with the self that you're currently living with? And if that's so, how do you have the courage to move forward? I mean, that's the main thing. On the other side of it is, do people look at you and think, oh, she's just never settled? So I mean, which way is it?
I think it's all of those.
All of those.
And I think those are such great questions. So first of all, let me start with, shouldn't you just be happy with where you are? And if you want to transform, does it mean that you're not happy? That is something that I've probably thought about my entire life, because even when I was doing ear, nose, and throat, I would always want to do something else. And people would say, aren't you just happy? I mean, this is such a great career. You should be satisfied. And yet I wasn't. So what I think is that's an individual choice for each person. So, for a lot of people, being a physician, having a family, that really may be enough for them. And that's individual. For me, it just wasn't. So what was right for me was to transform. Is transforming scary? Absolutely. Every single time I do it, it makes me unnerved, but it allows me to embrace those fears that I have and move forward in faith and in courage. So maybe I like challenging myself that way. I think I actually do, because every time I transform and reinvent myself, I grow as a human being. I learn things that I never would have learned before, and I enjoy that part of the journey in life.
Yeah.
And then to your last question, do people look at me and ask if I'm ever settled? I would say that the right people understand what I'm doing and the wrong people don't. So then it's really easy to identify who gets to stay in my life and who doesn't.
Exactly. So how can you invest in yourself? I mean, you can reinvent, yes, but you also have to invest in yourself to make sure you're on the right path. What are some of the strategies that you can use?
So there's so many different strategies. And again, I feel like I'll share what I do, and for each person it's going to be different based on their interests and whatnot. So for me, at each point in my life, there were different ways that I invested in myself. Obviously, when I ran a business and ear, nose, and throat practice, I invested in myself by going to medical conferences, reading business books, attending business conferences, marketing, blah, blah, blah. Those were all the things that were relevant at that time. Then when I went more into the cosmetics, then it was different conferences, different marketing, different strategies. Skincare led to different things. And I would say that obviously now it's, professional speaking. So it's like a whole nother skill set, whole nother type of business model. I've been speaking for so long that isn't new, but my message is different. So I spend a lot of time thinking and reflecting, which is very different. I was so busy doing before. Now I spend a lot of time just thinking and reflecting, because for me to be able to deliver that message properly, I have to spend that time thinking. And I'm sorry. And then the last thing was also I also like to invest in myself for things that make me happy and joyful too. So I always make sure to take time for travel. Right now I'm working on a black belt in Krav Maga. I used to race cars. So I have to throw a little bit of that in there, or life becomes a little crazy.
How do you fit all of this in to 24 hours in a day? Because it seems to me that, as you said, race cars, martial arts, all these different things. And so, I mean, for me, it's like I can barely manage my day and my hours as it is. So how do you do it?
So I'm really good at multitasking. I knew that from when I was very young. I could do multiple things at one point, at one time. And then I'm very, very organized. So I have a planner in my phone that's color-coded for things that I have to do based on whether they're work-related or self-care related or, anything else. So they're all color-coded. And then I have a written planner that I put additional things in. So I stay very, very focused and organized. And then I really start by making commitments to myself. So each month there may be different commitments. So if I focus on something one month, it may shift the next month. So I get it all in. It may not all be ongoing at the same time. Does that make sense?
No, yes, it does. It does. So if people are curious about how you do this, are you prepared to sort of answer some questions? Because there may be some viewers who say, I'd like to talk to her. I want to know more about how she does that. And if so, how do they find you?
That definitely it's possible. So they can reach me by email at drkalpanasundar@gmail.com or through my website, drkalpanasundar.com. They could reach me through there. I actually do professional coaching now. That was one of the other ways that I invested in myself. So I can actually help women through the process of being more organized and making the most out of their day.
Dr. Kalpana Sundar, it's an absolute pleasure to see you once again, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
And don't forget, if you'd like to know any more information, you can go to Dr. Kalpana Sundar's website, which is drkalpanasundar.com, and iwantabuzz.com. Thank you for watching.